So we're in the thick of summer right now. Tomorrow's the first day of August. And in the summer, there are farming challenges. Morning chores are really easy. All I have to do is let the sheep out. Evening chore is a little more tricky because I got to get them in from the pasture. But the challenges are, number one is we don't feed them hay in the summer. The summertime is when we can put them on pasture so they can eat grass. But then you have to deal with issues like parasites, and you got to monitor the flock to make sure they're not getting too heavy of a load of parasites, because that's bad for them. So you got to manage that. So we're rotating pastures, monitoring them, praying for rain so that the pastures will regrow. And in the summer, obviously, it's a lot easier to do handwork. In the winter, because it's so cold, it hurts your hands to do stuff like trimming feet and moving fence panels and stuff like that. But in the summer, that's a lot easier to do. And summertime, the lambs, you're watching them grow, which is always really fun and rewarding. It's one of the better parts of the whole thing. So what I thought I would do was just share with you in this video day in the life of raising sheep in the middle of the summer in western New York, given our climate and everything that's happening. I do want to just mention in the summer obviously I do a lot of gardening and yard work, and I poked my eye really well with a stick while I was cleaning out underneath an evergreen tree. So I can't even remember which eye it is. I think it's this one. Just a big broken blood vessel. It's nothing permanent, there's no damage or anything, but it's just a little bit distracting, so I wanted to get that out there. That. What else did I want to say? Yeah, in the winter there's a lot more stuff to do because you've got to deal with hay and grain and the breeding pens and stuff. In the summer you're just watching. You're watching their diet, they're watching them poop, make sure everybody's got nice solid poop. And you're watching their eyes to make sure that they don't have too heavy of a worm load. That's really what it's all about. So managing pasture, keeping them watered, and just enjoying them. I'm so blessed. It's just, aren't I? Every day I'm grateful. I'm totally recognizing how blessed I am. Right? You're like my little lap sheep. She always comes to see me. Two pretty girls. All right, let's get started with the video. today it's only one load. Like I said, it's just really tidying up a little bit. So I'm gonna unload. I normally refresh the waters, but the waters are all pretty full because it's been fairly cool outside the last few days. And they actually prefer room temperature water. They don't really like the cold that comes right out of the tap. So I don't have to do water. I'm just gonna unload this and then we can let them in. So one of the jobs I do pretty much every week, usually in the evening when it's cooler, is I'll put a sheep or two in the stand and I'll trim their feet. And trimming their feet is important. With sheep, their hooves grow like our fingernails. You want to keep them trimmed for a couple reasons. It's more comfortable for them to walk when their feet are trimmed correctly, and I'll show you that, a close-up of that. Also, if their hooves are too long and they fold under, sometimes they can get debris, dirt in there, and it can cause infection, so you want to keep it clean. And it can definitely affect their comfort. And that is her ram lamb. This is Locala. She had a black ram. He's in there wondering where she is. So we're gonna get this done quickly so we can put them back together. Tools I use, these are the clippers that we use. They're a little bit smaller than some of the other commercial farm clippers. I just get these at Premier, and they are designed primarily for trimming the hoof. They have a little bit of a mismatch at the tip, and that's so that you can use that to clean out the dirt from the hoof. And I'll show you that when we do the actual trimming. So we're gonna get started. I got her up in the stand. Safest way to do this is to have them up immobilized at my level so I'm not just, hurting my back. Normally the back feet are the worst. And sometimes they tend to bop around. She's doing pretty good. You do want to be careful not to get it too close because there is live tissue, and you don't want to get into that because that can cause it to bleed, and just as if you cut your fingernail too quick. She's jerking like that. I think it's because it feels weird. It's just ticklish. I'm not hurting her. It's just the equivalent of us getting our fingernails trimmed. My technique is I like to give her a feeling of being supported because she's standing. If I just had her, standing on her own, she would feel like she was going to fall. So I've got a pretty firm pressure here against her body and then against this rail here. Oh, sorry. Okay, and we're gonna do the front. Once again, I'm kind of pushing her against the railing. And I bend her foot back. I've seen people that take their feet and like stretch them out. I just feel like that is really uncomfortable for her. So this way it's like a natural position for her. These front ones aren't as bad. They look pretty good. That's the first side. This hoof here is bad. It's actually rolling over, you can see. And I can, when I'm watching them at night, you know, I'll grab a few of them and put them in the barn. I have this thing where it looks like they're wearing like Persian slippers where it starts to curl up a little bit. Definitely time for a trim. And you can also hear it when they're walking. It makes a weird hollow clicking sound, and that is an indication to me that she's got a lot of her hoof folded over like this. So my system is I cut the tip off. I have a pretty good idea of how long it should be, so I know where to cut the tip to make sure I don't hurt her. And it's also, these clippers are super sharp, so you want to be careful that you don't cut yourself too. I'll take a wish. Go this way instead. You also want to make sure your clippers are nice and sharp because dull clippers are unsafe. Here now I'm just getting the manure and everything out of there. And attacking the other side. So once you get to that white, you see the white there, that's live tissue. That's where you want to stop. It's okay. And I can just get a little, oh, I already got that. I am definitely not expert at this, but good enough. And that's it. That's where I'm going to leave it. Yeah, that's good enough. So sometimes, you know, if you've got a farm where you got them on concrete, you won't need to trim them probably because they just wear like a file, like an emery board on that material. And I do have a stone path that takes them out to the pasture, but it's not enough to help with wearing down these hooves to the level that we want them. Okay? Okay? That's it. You guys shouting at me? minerals are all refilled and loosened and depupified. So I do that twice a day, probably. Especially when they're on pasture. It seems like if they're pasturing, they go for the minerals a lot more frequently than they would if they were getting grain. They'll eat it if there's other stuff that they like. One thing I've been doing this summer is I have 4 adult rams that I don't have a good shelter / pasture for them. They normally stay in the breeding pens, but those don't have a good pasture, so they're going to be having hay all summer. So what I'm doing this year is I have a little crate that fits the 4 of them, as well as some temporary sidel panels. So I'm shifting them every day. So this is one of my daily tasks I do every day, but I thought I would show you what's involved in that process. So before I move this panel, I'm gonna just do a quick double check. I'm very certain that white pine is not toxic, but I'm just gonna check on my phone and then we'll ship the panels over. So just a quick research, and that showed that ponderosa pine and yew, which I knew about the yew, are toxic to livestock. Other pines are not. I in fact know people that put their Christmas trees in with their sheep. So I'm pretty comfortable, but I just wanted to double check.